1.1,035,510,675. 1.4 billion, 1.6 million, 500,000. 1. Ever since I was a child, I knew that I was the one. The one to be the next president of the United States, the one to lift a space shuttle off to the moon, or the one to be the next millionaire. I knew exactly what I wanted, and I knew exactly how to get there. I had it all planned out. Nice house, 2 kids, and a charger, just like the Dukes of Hazzard. But the crazy thing was that in all my plans, I never thought of anything but myself. I mean, come on, isn't that how it's supposed to be? Aren't my needs the most important thing? As a boy, I built the perfect world where everything revolved around me, myself, and I. And the saddest thing about it all, sometimes today I find myself doing the exact same thing. We're all guilty of it. We wake up, we stretch, and we ask ourselves, what will I do today? Our minds start racing to the newest gadget we'll buy, the friend we'll see, or the agenda we'll follow. When we should be asking ourselves, why? Why have I been placed on this earth? Why am I here? We as a society allow ourselves to focus on our own opportunities for promotion and success when we should also be asking ourselves, why, what, and when? Why have I been placed on this earth? What am I going to do about it? And when will I start living my life for others? But like I said, we're all guilty of it, including myself. And that was the exact same mindset I had one January morning. You see, my day started off just like any other. Shower? Check. Brush my teeth? Check. Large glass of sweet tea? Oh yes, check. But today would be a little bit different. As Dalen and I jumped into the Texas FFA truck, we realized today wasn't going to be like the others. But off we go, jumping into the stylish yet classy Texas FFA truck, and to our destination we went. As we pulled up to the curb, we took one last deep breath, and then opened the door. At first glance, the setting of this event was no different than any other. A flood of FFA jackets filled with familiar friends who embraced us with a hug. But it was the emotion on their faces which made today a little bit different. As we took our seats, we heard words of love, empowerment, and inspiration. But you couldn't help but notice the pain on everybody's hearts. As we visited with a family who was grieving the loss of their young daughter, questions kept flooding my mind. The question of why. How could something like this happen? She was so young, so innocent. As we drove away, these questions continued to flood my mind, and the thoughts kept coming. Why? Why did she have to get taken from us? Why did this happen? Why did she have to go? Why? As the memory of the funeral faded, the question never did. Why? I think that's a really good question. How many of us have ever woken up without a reason for our life or without a purpose? We get 86,400 seconds each day to make a difference. On average, we have 80 years to make a change, but it still seems as if we wake up in our own little world. We watch CNN and Fox News without a second thought to the people behind the faces of suffering. We hear of injustice and tragedy, but our minds still focus on the newest gadget or gossip we'll hear. It's as simple as opening our eyes to the world around us. It's time we start looking into our communities and seeing where we can make a difference. It's time we start asking ourselves, why? Why am I here? And that was the exact same question I started trying to figure out. But the sad thing was that it took the death of a young lady to make me realize that there has to be something more important than me in this world. After a great presentation, it was now time for one of my favorite periods of the day, lunch. And an American favorite, pizza. As we sat and waited for the pizza to arrive, my thoughts and attention kept getting sidetracked to the neighboring classroom. After seeing a substitute teacher trying to keep her students under control and papers flying all over the place, I finally asked one of the officers, "What class is that?" With a look of disgust, she replied, "Those are the bad kids. Those are the kids we can't get to do anything. They're always the troublemakers." After seeing those bad kids continually going crazy and waiting for the pizza to arrive, I finally did it. I stood up, walked straight through the petition, up to the baddest boy of them all, the boy covered with tattoos and a sour attitude, and said, "Hi, how are you?" With a look of confusion and annoyance, there was no response. So I continued, "My name's Mason. What's yours?" Once again, no response. So I tried one more time. "So what you working on?" Now this one got a little bit more attention. With the biggest sarcastic smile on his face, he replied, "A waste of my time, book reports." Now for a boy like me, this was not something to be said. I mean, I was a kid in high school who knew the Dewey Decimal System backwards and forwards. But as he continued, I was blown away by how proud he was, as he shared with me that he was failing each and every one of his classes, and he topped it off by showing me his progress report, which was littered with the grades like a 42, followed by a 37, and ending with a 53. But it was the statement that came next which truly hurt the most. Why do I need school anyways? It's not like any of this stuff applies to me. It's not like anyone cares. Right? Taken back by his statement, I realized it wasn't that this boy wanted to be a failure. It's that he'd been told that he was. And the saddest thing about it all, he actually believed it. So there I stood, with my eyes wide open, knowing exactly what I needed to do. Several weeks before, I'd asked myself why I was placed on this earth, and now the answer sat right in front of me. So Ryan and I sat down. We pulled out his book, and word by word, I showed him someone cared about his future. Page by page, we took and built up his self-esteem, and chapter by chapter, we took his mindset of that of a failure to a hope of becoming something so much more. I missed out on pizza that day, but I got something far more valuable. I figured out what I'm here for. A few weeks later, I received this Facebook message. "Hey Mason, just want to say thanks for helping me read that book the other day. Guess what? I'm passing English, and no worries, I'm working on math and science too. Thanks for helping me out and for believing in me. Signed, Ryan." I realized that day that people are simply looking for someone to believe in them, and that if I can serve as that person, I fulfill my purpose. So the question is, what? What are you here for? Every day we are surrounded by people, places, and things that need our help. We are compelled and we feel compelled to solve their water crisis or in-world hunger, but it seems as if we never get up and take action. We feel the sorrow of our peers, the pain of those who are suffering from homelessness, but we never get up and do something. We say we want to make a difference, but it seems as if we never commit to actually being the difference. After we open our eyes, we must then use our strengths and follow our heart to see where we want to make a difference, figure out where we want to make an impact, and ask ourselves, what? What am I here for? Now, by this point, I can pretty much guess what you're thinking. Okay, Mason, I'm in high school. I have 101 things to do between friends and family. How am I possibly supposed to add this to my day? And 2 years ago, I was thinking the exact same thing. Sitting in the middle of our nation's capital, where the history of our country is captured and the direction of our nation is decided, Sherry, my Washington leadership facilitator, and I walked past countless monuments of Washington, Jefferson, and Lincoln, and talked about the legacy that these great leaders left on our nation. We talked about the people they saved, the masses they led, and the families they protected. But then she asked me a question that'll stick with me for the rest of my life. Mason, what if these people had never followed through with what they were made to do? What if they never followed through with their purpose? Think about it. Where would our nation be today? How would our lives be totally different if they simply wouldn't have gotten up and taken action? And that's why I refuse to make any more excuses. As she continued, I was blown away by her passion and excitement as she shared with me that she wanted to create a movement. She wanted to truly make a difference. So she was going to create a movement called Water Drops for Hope. She told me with the sale of each water bottle that she has, she'll be able to provide clean water for 5 years for 3 people in Africa. She said, I don't want to know 50 years from now when I look back on my life that I was called to do something but never followed through. I don't want to know that I had a purpose but still have the question of what if in my mind. I realized each and every one of us has the same choice that she has, to either do nothing or to actually make a difference. It's time we start asking ourselves, when? When am I going to change the world? As I took one last glance at the monuments left for leaders across our great nation who led our time and our country through times of hopelessness and despair, I realized it's time for us to decide to change the world, be the missionaries for our generation, and also the leaders for our future. It's time we ask ourselves, if not I, who? If not now, when? In Text FFA, it's time I start taking my own advice. I don't want to look back on my life 50 years from now and still have the question of what if in my mind. I don't want to know that I was called to do something but never followed through with my purpose. I share with you the story of a young girl who made me realize that there has to be something more important than me in this world. I told you the story of a boy who helped me discover my purpose, but we know that the question is, when are we actually going to make a difference? We know why we're here. We know what we're going to do about it. But as we leave this place, people are going to say, how can a high schooler possibly make a difference? We're going to experience setbacks and challenges, and that's when I want you to tell yourself, if not I, who? If not now, when? If you want to cure cancer, my question is, who's stopping you? If you want world hunger to only be something talked about in the history books, then what's your first step? It's as simple as looking into your community, figuring out where you can make a difference, and then actually following through with your plan. You see, one day there was a high schooler who came to a convention. They were surrounded by 11,000 people who believed in the same mission and purpose they did. 11,000 people who believed that they could change the world. This person wore a blue and gold jacket, which represented hard work, dedication, and focus, but more importantly, a belief that anything is possible as long as you're willing to dream big and follow after those dreams and never quit. This person knew that to whom much is given, much is required. And here we now sit. We know why we're here. We figured out what we're going to do about it, and we know the time is now. But the question is, will you make a difference? Will you change the world? 1.1 million people suffering from cancer. 35,000 people who are dying from AIDS. 510, 675 children who are abused each year in the United States. 1.6 billion people without a clean drinking and water source. 1.4 million people in our home country that don't have a place to live. 500,000 teens who attempt to commit suicide each year. One. All it takes is one. It starts with one person standing up and making a movement. All we have to do is look into our communities, focus on something larger than ourselves, and really figure out where we can truly make a difference. All it takes is one. Let's commit to being that one to actually change the world. So Texas FFA, are you the one?